Imagine having a life that millions of people dream of, marrying your high school sweetheart, living in a luxurious home, and going on lavish vacations, starting a family with your beautiful wife, and then thinking to yourself, I need to make a song about how none of this is good enough for me. 'Cause I got everything I want, but it's still not enough. Meet Matt and Abby, a couple that had grown popular on TikTok and YouTube for sharing their lives online and discussing the details of their picture-perfect relationship.
I woke up this morning and my husband told me that he doesn't love me anymore.
Okay, that's not what I said. I said I'm done watching Christmas movies for this week.
Matt and Abby amassed over 5 million followers on TikTok for sharing seemingly wholesome content and gained many fans that adored their videos, seeing their relationship as the ultimate goal or the perfect couple. Or so it may seem.
You're gonna go into a hospital room and hold a newborn baby, and it's not gonna be your baby, it's gonna be your grandbaby.
That's so sweet.
We're gonna be grandma and grandpa together.
They make content around parenting, showing things like pregnancy announcements and gender reveals, and recording the birth of their children, which unsurprisingly gets the most views on their channel. After starting out as what many would consider another family channel, they didn't seem to exploit their children the ways that many other family channels do. At least they hide their kids' faces before sharing their exact locations. But that's just about the bare minimum that they do. They still share a lot of information about their children that probably shouldn't be shared online, including their locations. But more on that later. Now, compared to many other family bloggers I've discussed on this channel, Matt and Abby do seem to be slightly better, at least when it comes to not shoving a camera in their kids' faces all the time, which, yeah, in my opinion, is a very good thing. But that's basically the bare minimum that they do in order to protect their kids, because they love to overshare information about them, like their names, embarrassing stories, and even complaining about them to their 5 million followers.
I was doing like everything for, and so I'm like, here I am, like I have all these like big goals and big dreams, and I have to put them to the wayside, and I'm like, I'm stuck here, and I was kind of mad.
Yeah, if I were in a situation like that and I grew up looking back on those videos, I'd be pretty mortified. But like I just mentioned, despite all of this, they've managed to accumulate a pretty dedicated fan base that sees Matt and Abby as the perfect power couple.
Just the two of us. We can make it if we try.
Matt and Abby are high school sweethearts, supposedly meeting back in 8th grade and having a long-lasting relationship through high school. After they graduated, they decided to attend the same college where they pursued acting and theater. At the age of 19, Matt and Abby got engaged, and at the age of 20, they got married. Some have made comments online talking about how young this is, to each their own. It doesn't bother me one way or the other. When they got married, they were both at similar age. I think they're only a few months apart. They both seemed happy with it, at least at the time. There definitely do seem to be some things that aren't picture perfect anymore, and sometimes their happiness does seem staged, but at the end of the day, it was their decision to get married at that age, and it is their decision to stay in a relationship as a married couple if that's what they choose to do. Unfortunately for Matt and Abby, however, things would not appear perfect for long. Part of their audience would go from admiration to disdain, peering back behind the curtain of perfection to find yet another problematic family channel. When I first heard about Matt and Abby, it was over a lot of their relationship issues and not so much about the issues with their kids. These guys seem to just overshare every little thing, and half the time you don't even know for sure what's actually true and what's being said as rage bait. With that being said, however, Matt especially has displayed a lot of man-child behavior that we'll get into later, and they both have made some very severe mistakes with their children that have made it to mainstream news and have even resulted in a cruise line making adjustments to their policies because of how bad they messed up. Matt and Abby also display a pretty negative pattern of behavior when it comes to caring for their children. It's one that just seems to have gone under the radar compared to other family channels. Like many in 2020, Matt and Abby lost their jobs, and they ended up turning to social media and trying to make that into some sort of career. I believe they actually started out on YouTube before going completely viral over on TikTok. And what had granted them this gift of virality was Abby's pregnancy and making a lot of content related around her being pregnant and giving birth, thus blooming into this family channel dynamic. Now, here's the thing. If you want to document your pregnancy and talk about things like your plans and stuff like that, I actually don't think that that's the worst thing. I think if you want to make content documenting that as something that's very important to you, I think that that's completely fine. What gets me with a lot of family vloggers is just sharing personal information, sharing too much information, bringing their child into a world with a camera right in their face for millions of followers to see when that child can't even comprehend what reality is yet. That's the stuff that bothers me. And I do think that there are family creators out there. I don't want to lump them in with family vloggers, but I don't really know what else to consider them. I think there are a lot of family related channels out there that do a good job at talking about parenting advice and sharing their lives, and they do a good job at, discussing things without exploiting their children and exploiting their family situations. And I would love to see more of that one day, compared to this very reoccurring toxic garbage that we see time and time and time again of parents looking at their children like little money bags because that's what they can bring in a lot of income with, because they know that that type of content goes very viral online. That being said, however, Matt and Abby did make a lot of pregnancy content and it did end up going viral. And this is where things started subtly taking a turn, because things went from being wholesome to being something that they realized is a niche that they could tap into that would really give them a ton of views and value online as a career. Eventually, they realized that a lot of family channels were getting well-deserved criticism for a lot of different things, so they wanted to take a step back from that and try to be better than the other family channels. And by doing so, they would try not to share their children's faces as much, but like I had mentioned, they would still share a lot of personal information about them. And overall, it just seems like a PR stunt or something that would be done for good publicity while still making profits exploiting their family, including, again, uploading the birth of their first child and documenting each day taking care of their newborn, such as day 1, 2, 3, etc. Almost 30 days in, Matt had actually posted a TikTok to Matt and Abby's TikTok account. It seemed like he was just trying to pat himself on the back and share how good of a father he is for taking care of their infant child, which, by the way, yeah, that could be a very stressful thing. But as you could see, there's one point where he has a container of powder. I'm assuming it's like pre-workout or some sort of protein powder, and he's holding the baby with one hand, and then he has the box of powder on top of the baby's back, like it's a shelf. Something that really struck a lot of people was when he was talking about cleaning the house and how he doesn't do this all the time because he believes in traditional family roles.
Don't be fooled by me picking up my house because I'm not typically the one that does it. And don't be fooled by me taking care of my son because most of the time my wife does that too. Abby really wanted to go to the gym tonight, so I'm on Griffin duty and I wanted to surprise her with a clean house when she got home. In our relationship, we naturally take on more traditional marital roles, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Basically saying that he thinks his wife should be doing all the cleaning and the cooking and watching their baby and everything while he tries to thrive in a subpar music career.
I'm just afraid to lose you after all that we've been through.
Theoretically, I'm just saying, if you go to traditional values, look back into the 30s, 40s, and 50s, the wife would stay home, cook, clean, take care of the kids, while the husband would go out and work and be the breadwinner. So if those are the traditional values that they want to uphold, how come he failed to pay their water bill for several months? It's not that they didn't have the money to do it, it's just that he apparently forgot.
I'm so sorry.
Now, I know that sounds super irresponsible, but we have all of our bills set up on autopay, and today I noticed that our toilets wouldn't flush. So I called our water company, and sure enough, they turned off our water because we haven't paid our bill since we bought our house. And the bill was just shy of $1,000. While a $1,000 water bill does seem really high, we do live in the desert, and we also have a pool. When you put all that in perspective, it doesn't seem all that bad.
Autopay isn't something that just magically happens. You have to sign up for it. This isn't the only time he's demonstrated a lack of responsibility as an adult, though. They live in a very privileged position where both of them get to work from home and get to raise their children without having to leave their house to work their job. On top of that, they have family helping them out.
I'm 24 and living with my parents. First of all, I just simply couldn't give each of my kids the high level of care that I would hope to all on my own. So while I'm nursing our newborn, it's relieving to know that my mom could be playing in the pool with our toddler. They both just need a lot of attention right now. So it's such a privilege to not feel like I have to constantly sacrifice the needs of one to meet the others.
And here's the thing, there is absolutely nothing anything wrong with having your family help you with your children if you need it. As that saying goes, it can take a village. I'm only pointing this out because Matt made it such a point to say that they have a traditional lifestyle when this is more than just traditional. This is a very privileged position to be in. Especially when, and we'll get into this more later, they both complain about not getting out enough and having the struggle of being parents and how it takes so much time away. When they go on vacations very, very often while they leave their children at home, having their family watch them. Like I said, I'll get into this more later, but there is one thing that I want to get into now, which is Matt's problem with celebrating Father's Day in June. One of their earlier scandals was Matt making a big deal about celebrating Father's Day and his birthday on the same day, and how they are boycotting Father's Day and postponing it to September so that Matt can have his birthday celebration without having to do Father's Day stuff.
Decided as a family that we are not celebrating Father's Day this year.
Father's Day, it's always in June, and it's like always
Last year
around.
was June 18th, which is Matt's birthday, so
Yes.
he had Father's Day and his birthday on the same day. And
So sad.
I will say I did kind of combine the holidays.
You did combine the two of them. It's okay though. I mean, you were pregnant, you were uncomfortable, you were
We
close.
just gotten back from our baby moon that
Yeah.
day. I got you a cake from DQ.
I guess we had
and
just
had
gotten
our
home.
family over and grilled.
Well, I grilled, but I know a lot of dads grill on their birthday.
Oh no, he had the grill on his birthday? Yikes.
But yeah, we had Father's
And I
Day.
grew your child
You did grow my child.
all day, every day.
But like Father's Day and my birthday were the same exact day.
Yeah, and I
and
kinda-
it kind of was a bummer.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I failed you. I'm
Hey,
so
but
sorry.
you know what? This year, we're boycotting Father's Day for the month of June and celebrating it 3 months after my birthday.
Maybe I'm crazy, but I don't know. Getting a cake from Dairy Queen, having family over, grilling, and having a good time sounds like a pretty good birthday to me. And I'm somebody who also shares a birthday with a holiday sometimes, not every year, but once in a while. And those turn out to be the best birthdays because you get to do so much in one day and it's a lot of fun. This podcast episode had gotten a lot of backlash with a lot of comments calling Matt entitled, and then after this, despite saying that they were going to celebrate Father's Day in September, Abby still got him a cake and did a few other things, and it was really sweet, and this is what he had to say about it.
Holy frick! Oh my gosh!
my.
Are these cake pops? This is like way too over the top. This is so
This
nice.
is the best Father's Day ever.
It says best dad ever.
Why is that funny to you?
You know why it's funny.
You are the best
know why
dad
it's
ever.
funny. You think I'm the best dad ever?
Yeah, wait, why is it funny?
Well, I said the thing about not celebrating Father's Day. I don't know if you're trolling me right now. I don't know what's
I'm
going
not-
on.
Sometime later, they talked about this incident in another podcast episode and rated it on what I guess is a list of scandals.
Matt's Father Day birthday saga.
That was
a memorable moment from Unplanned Podcast 2024. How would you rate that moment?
I
from
never in a
1
million
out of
years
10?
thought there'd be a People magazine article made about that. Did you know that? People magazine made an article about it. It was
Yeah,
like,
I wish I didn't know these things.
hey, now I can tell people I was on People magazine.
And what an accomplishment that is. Okay, but what would you rate that one out of 10? You have to include the emotional trauma.
Oh my gosh. I mean, like, I can laugh about it now. At the time, I was like horrified.
I'm honestly gonna give it 2 out of 10.
Oh, you're giving it a
because
2.
it gets 2 stars back for being. It's kind of funny in hindsight.
I think it's funny now. I'm like, that is so stupid. I mean, the words I said too were so stupid as well. Like, I obviously did not sound good at all. The clip that we put out, I just looked so selfish. I looked so full of myself.
In general, I don't think there's anything wrong with that controversy, but I didn't watch the clip, and maybe the clip made it look really bad. In which case, that's on us, so.
Unfortunately for Matt and Abby, there have been plenty other scandals throughout their career, especially as they shared more and more about their lives. Back in 2020, Matt and Abby launched a channel called The Unplanned Podcast and began posting episodes in early 2023. In these episodes, they discussed the details of their relationships, going into being high school sweethearts and getting married at a young age, and things such as their intimacy. There's a podcast clip, which in my opinion, this one was done to really rage bait. I don't know for sure though, but they talk about their intimacy after having a child, and Abby asks Matt if it felt different for him, and he said yes.
Does it feel different down there after birth?
Yeah, actually. I feel like it goes back, but it doesn't go back to exactly how
Yeah,
it was
we
before.
talked about this the other day, and I was kind of surprised to hear you say that,
Dude,
because you never told me until I asked you.
I always heard, oh, it goes back to normal, but it doesn't go back to exactly the way it was before.
You could see that this is something that is not the happiest thing for Abby to hear.
So, maybe I shouldn't go into too much detail.
We can
Do
say
you
whatever.
still like it after?
I still like it, of course.
You like it as much?
I would say so.
That doesn't sound very...
I think I like it pretty good.
But they did mention talking about this before, so this is something that they have rediscussed on camera.
Yeah, we talked about this the other day, and I was kind of surprised to hear you say that, because you never told me until I asked you.
There is this clip of both of them talking about how they didn't find each other attractive when they were younger. Abby had said, I didn't find you attractive when I was younger, and Matt really quickly said, same. Like,
I just find you very attractive.
Yeah, I find you very attractive too.
And there was a time where I did not.
Same.
Isn't that so funny how our brain can do that, though?
Yes.
I think when it comes to Matt and Abby specifically, there have been other issues that have caused more self-esteem problems, especially when it comes to Abby, than this particular clip. One being Matt getting Abby clothes in a size that is smaller than what she was used to wearing after she had a baby, and many assumed he had done this in a passive-aggressive way to give her like a little nudge to say, hey, you know, make sure you get back to that body you had before you had your child.
I was saying my sweet husband got me a set from Aloe Yoga as a push present, even though I didn't really push. More like a slice present. He's so adorable, he got me a size extra small. Got it on. I think the quality speaks for itself because these really should have ripped as I was pulling them on, but there's not a rip.
She has made videos talking about her insecurities throughout pregnancy.
Someone messaged me and they said, why did your jaw change? And I'm like, because I freaking turned into a marshmallow and I'm pregnant.
You look so cute.
Which is fine, I just feel bloated. Like, I don't care what I look like, I just hate that I feel like someone has pumped me full of air and like helium.
Matt also makes these offhanded compliments that are just weird. For example, when Abby got her hair redone.
Oh, look, you look really cute. You look like a new woman.
You look like a new one.
It's like you have a sister and she's like kind of hot.
There's another thing that Matt does that's a little off-putting in my opinion. He'll record her crying or feeling ill, and he'll be behind the camera talking really sweet to her and saying, everything's okay, it's fine if you want to sit on the couch and take a nap, you've been working a lot.
Told you I said I don't want to take a nap, and then you said just take a 30-minute nap, and then it's taken me 30 minutes to get out of bed after the 30-minute nap. Now it's been an hour. How am I supposed to do anything else for the rest of the day?
You can sit on the couch the rest of the day. You don't have to do anything today.
No.
No, you literally don't
I
have to
don't
do.
like doing that.
How about you just chill on the couch and watch a show?
No, I'm so lazy.
Do you not want the water?
No, I don't want the water.
Why not?
I only like my cup.
You only like your cup? You want me to go look for your cup?
I hate doing that so much.
I know you do. I'm so sorry. I'll be able to turn off the lights really soon, so you can go back to bed.
Listen to me, hear me out. A lot of their fans would watch this and would be like, oh my god, he's so sweet. Look at him being such a supportive dad and husband. He really is like the dream guy. He's really somebody that would be perfect husband material. When in reality, if you look at it from a different perspective, you can see that what he's doing is clearly for content. Elaborating further, what I mean by this is if he did this without shoving a camera in his wife's face, it would be one thing, it would be sweet, it would be cute. But this looks so performative, and as the cool kids say these days, gives me the ick. People didn't really make a big deal of this at the time though, because there wasn't really any big issue that had happened, at least not something well known enough to cause concern or to make people question it. But another thing is that Abby, with her second child, had a C-section, and this man had the audacity to ask her if she cheated birth.
He was out so fast. They told me, they were like, you're gonna feel a little pressure, and then they like kind of pushed on my belly, and then it wasn't anything crazy, and then all of a sudden, screaming like a banshee, here is...
It felt like we cheated birth.
It was,
Like,
it was crazy.
I was not expecting that. So with this one, it felt like we cheated because we just like walked into the hospital, walked into this room, boom, you're open and here's our kid. It was just like so quick. I was like, there's no way this is happening right now.
I really don't know what it is, and I've only really noticed it over the past couple of years, but apparently this has been a thing for ages, that there is this shaming of women who have C-sections instead of natural births. I don't know why. I think that's so weird. I don't think it matters as long as you and your baby are healthy.
I am opting for a scheduled C-section for my second delivery. I'm hesitant to even talk about this because I know there are a lot of strong opinions when it comes to this topic.
To try and talk about a woman having a baby and talk about how having a C-section could be cheating giving a birth is absurd to me. Absolutely absurd. Matt actually shamed Abby for not breastfeeding quick enough.
We didn't have the best time at the hospital. My wife was ready to leave the same day she gave birth. The hospital staff said that the minimum stay for a C-section was 48 hours. It put our marriage to the test. But worst of all, there was breastfeeding, which really caused us to butt heads. It was really important to my wife that she breastfed our baby, but it was really important to me that our baby got fed. I offered to give our baby formula until my wife's milk came in, but she saw this as a direct attack. My wife was doing what she thought was best for our baby, and so was I. We were on the same team and didn't even know. I did my best to pack up our stuff as quickly as possible.
Before I even get into the breastfeeding thing, I think it's crazy how he ends with, I really want to get home, but because I haven't showered in 2 days and I want to sleep in my own bed. Like, the man has the actual audacity to say that while his wife literally just had a baby.
Well, I was ready to get home because I hadn't showered in 2 days and wanted to sleep in my own bed.
And also, yeah, it does kind of come off as a direct attack and is very insulting when you are trying to push your wife to breastfeed when her body and her baby are adapting to very natural changes. There's a TikToker who actually explains this in very great detail on why this is such an issue.
Super unaware of how much a baby actually needs at each feeding, day 1 through 3. Their stomach is literally the size of a peanut. And yes, your milk is not even supposed to be in until days 3, 4, or 5 because you are actually producing colostrum. Literally drops of milk. And then it grows by day 3, it's like the size of an olive, and so on. It is completely normal for your milk to not come in for several days, and they were only at the hospital for 48 hours. So yes, her milk was not in yet because she was producing colostrum for the baby. But what really struck me is him saying that their stay put their marriage to the test, and not for any other reason other than Abby's hormonal changes and the breastfeeding. Which I don't think that it could be any more obvious that she very obviously did not feel supported by him. Another common thing is the baby's latch. And a lot of people don't realize that sometimes babies have lip ties or tongue ties, and it affects the way that they can actually latch on, which will of course affect how they eat. So if your baby struggles with latching, you should definitely have them evaluated for tongue and lip ties.
So I want to thank the TikToker Kylie's Muse for sharing that information. I will link her video in the description below because she does go into more detail about this. But the way that he must have made Abby feel during this period of time, which most likely was one of the most vulnerable moments in her life, is an absolute tragedy. Later on their podcast, she even talked about feeling overlooked in this situation.
Everyone's eyes are on the baby and wanting to take care of the baby, and everyone's been so nice and kind and gracious to me. But it's easy for moms to get overlooked.
Did you feel overlooked at the hospital?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. Was it hospital staff? Was it family? Was it me?
No, it's just it's hard for you to understand.
Yeah.
Like, it's easy to see the physical needs, but it's really hard to see the emotional needs.
Yeah.
The emotional needs after birth are so great. It makes me feel pathetic to like say that, but I know that that's the experience of so many other women too.
This is absolutely heartbreaking to hear. But of course, all of this gets even worse. I think what bothers me the most out of Matt's man-childness, that's what I'm just going to call it in this video, there is something going on. I don't want to diminish the possibilities of mental health issues that Matt may be experiencing, but one thing he talks about is the baby blues that he got when Abby delivered their baby, and the way he talks about it, honestly, in my opinion, is pretty cruddy towards Abby.
I was kind of frustrated a little bit.
I could tell.
And I just kind of shut down and didn't say anything. Like,
Yeah.
I was just like quiet.
Yeah, that was hard for me.
I was doing like everything for like, here I am, like I have all these like big goals and big dreams and I have to put them to the wayside. And I'm stuck here. And I was kind of mad.
Yeah.
And that just lasted for like a day.
It lasted like 2 days.
You think it lasted 2 days?
For sure.
Did it last the second day? Maybe it did last for the second day. But then it went away.
They talk about how he basically ignored her for like 48 hours because he thought his life was over for having children. You participated in the act of making this baby. This was also your decision. This was something that you knew was coming for over 9 months. You were all excited and prepared for it. You guys made tons and tons of content prior to the baby even arriving. And you have to stonewall your wife for for 48 hours afterwards. I totally get mental health is something that is very stigmatized, especially when it does come to men and husbands. But in this situation, it's not an excuse to treat your wife who just delivered your effing child like crap. I'm not saying you're not allowed to feel overwhelmed or like life is about to get chaotic because you're bringing another human into the world, and that comes with a lot of responsibility. And yeah, it is something that's going to change your life and make you have to sacrifice things. But again, this is something that you have planned for over 9 months and something you took part in as well, and you shouldn't be punishing your wife by ignoring her because you're not happy in that moment. That is not fair at all. He even goes as far as subtly blaming his kids for being the reason why his dreams aren't going to come true now.
I was having this like realization moment of, okay, like my life just changed big time. And for a little bit I was like, wow, like all my career goals have to go to the wayside.
Also, shout out to the TikTok account Shameless Podcast for re-uploading and reacting to this clip, because I went to Matt and Abby's actual podcast episode and it looks like they cut this part out of their episode. See, the thing is, a lot of your dreams have already come true because of the content you made regarding your kids before they were born. Children are not an accessory for you to hold up in front of a screen or a camera to get views and attention online and to get patted on the back and told how good of a person you are for being a parent. They're human beings that require attention and love and support and responsibility and sacrifice, especially when they are infants. I just genuinely don't think this man grew up at all. I think that the realization of responsibility actually hit him in the moment when that baby was born, and he was not prepared for it. It is not fair to be treating your wife the way that you did for 48 hours after she gave birth. The topic of divorce has come up a lot between Matt and Abby in their public social media because a lot of people assume that it's some point or another they are going to get divorced, which honestly, if they do or don't, that's their decision to make. They have stated multiple times that divorce isn't an option.
For us, like, divorce is just not on the table. It's not an option. I think people go into marriage thinking divorce is an option. That's why they kind of work themselves towards divorce subconsciously.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's very valid reasons for divorce. There's so many different circumstances that could, like, that totally validate those people's situations. But for us, in our relationship, I think that the reason we're able to have a strong marriage, that doesn't mean that we don't have conflict, we don't have weak spots. It's because we both believe in the commitment we made to each other.
And I think on top of maybe some religious reasons why they don't want to get divorced, marrying your high school sweetheart, you're with that person for so long, there are expectations after a certain point to be like, you know, we can never break up, we've been together for so long. Sometimes if somebody's treating you badly or, you know, neglecting your needs, maybe that person isn't the right person for you. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying that that's an opinion she needs to take.
Some of you are projecting your personal frustrations, and it shows. Now, I rarely make videos about this because it's a waste of my time. We know what kind of people we are, and other people are allowed to be wrong about us. But sometimes it's nice to remember that I don't always have to be silent and just accept the hateful lies people say about us. So here we go. In our relationship, we have different roles. But in my opinion, that's one of the things that makes our marriage a partnership rather than two individuals cohabitating. We consider one another's interests and strengths and allocate tasks accordingly. We both take work tasks and we both take household tasks. But I do tend to take on more of the cleaning and taking care of our baby. That's what I enjoy and what I'm good at. My husband is pretty much responsible for the bulk of the business tasks, financial responsibilities, cars, insurance, and so on. However, that's not to say that we never cross over into one another's territories when one of us is feeling overwhelmed. And if you're saying otherwise, then you haven't spent a second with our family. Don't make me a victim when I certainly am not one. That's insulting to me. A healthy marriage requires teamwork. And on a team, not everyone can play the same position.
So this response was clearly regarding people's concerns about traditional roles that we talked about earlier. The thing is, I can understand the frustration of people peering into your life and speculating on your relationships, but that's their entire channel. They put everything about their relationship and their family out for people to see and consume, and that's going to generate a lot of opinion. And to be completely honest, there are quite a few things that have concerned a lot of people. I don't think it's projection, I think it's genuine concern. With that being said, however, of course, opinions on the internet are yours to decide whether or not you want to take. For example, it's my opinion that Matt is an irresponsible man-child who needs a reality check, but I'm not going to go out of my way to say that she should divorce him because that's ultimately her decision to make. I could only say what I would do if I were in similar situations to what was publicly displayed online. Just be a painful experience, but a very stressful one. The National Safety Council reported that in the year of 2021, over 36,000 car accidents would happen in the United States every single day. And in many cases, people who have gotten in accidents had to deal with the headache of trying to navigate the cost of their injuries. Things could be much more simple though by becoming a client of Morgan & Morgan. If you've ever gotten into an accident, your injury could potentially be worth millions. When dealing with cases, Morgan & Morgan doesn't just settle for lowball offers. Morgan & Morgan has achieved significant verdicts for victims with life-altering injuries. This includes over $12 million in Florida being 34 times the highest insurance offer, and $26 million in Philly, which is 40 times the highest insurance offer. Being America's largest injury law firm, Morgan & Morgan has over 1,000 lawyers working across all 50 states. And the best part is, you don't have to pay any fees unless you win your case. That's right, that means no expensive upfront charges coming out of your pocket. Like I've said, if you've ever gotten seriously hurt, your injury could be worth millions, and you're just a few clicks away from potentially changing your life. You can start your claim now with Morgan & Morgan at forthepeople.com/Mimi, and you can also find my link in the description below. Thank you so much to Morgan & Morgan for sponsoring another video on my channel, and with that being said, let's get back into today's topic. And I think one of the saddest things is this TikTok Matt made where he had Abby in the car. He makes these songs every once in a while and he has his wife Abby react to them in their car. The entire song does seem to revolve around mental health, but there's a clip that has gone around with a short snippet of the lyrics that make it sound like he is just unhappy with his life, with his wife and kids, and how they aren't good enough for him, and it has left a lot of people assuming that. But then there are other people that have come in and said, no, you're taking it out of context, that's only one part of the full song, and it talks about his mental health. Either way, those lyrics were mentioned and said, and I do think that there is some stuff behind those words in that song that he said that could indicate that, yeah, maybe he isn't happy with his life and his family isn't good enough for him. And it made a lot of people feel really, really bad for Abby. You can even see how upset she looks in this video, and it sounds devastating. On top of that, though, sometimes things like depression, for example, can make a person feel that way. To be completely honest, if you have something like depression, you have to work on that, having all the luxuries in the world, having a wife, having kids, all of that. If you suffer from any type of mental health issue, it is not going to fix your problems. It's just going to be a band-aid for it in most cases. But being on the other end of that and being somebody's partner who is trying to support them, hearing the words that they might not be enough, or that their children might not be enough, or that the life they built might not be enough, is still crushing. Making that type of song, but then later on they addressed this song in a podcast.
It was soul crushing. It was, oh dude, why am I like,
You don't have to share as much.
yeah, okay.
If you want to, you can.
I wrote a song about like being depressed, thinking it would like help people that were also depressed. And then it felt like the whole internet turned on me and was like, you hate your wife and kids. That was really hard.
I don't know if this was genuine or if he was really feeling this way. When he talks about it in this podcast, he sounds more genuine, but it's really hard to tell with an influencer who makes so many strategic decisions for their channel and everything is posted with the idea of farming engagement. So my personal thoughts on whether or not this was genuine is uncertain. I don't know. What I do know though is that he takes this in an avenue where he tries to say everybody was telling him he hates his wife and kids.
And then it felt like the whole internet turned on me and was like, you hate your wife and kids.
The general criticism was the line in the song where he says they weren't enough. And like I said, people have pointed out that this was just one line in a larger song that seemed to be about depression. That could have been worded a lot differently because the way it's worded in the song did give the impression that his wife and children weren't enough for him, which isn't just a sad thing to hear, but it's also insulting. And it could have been worded differently in a way that says, I still love my wife and kids so much, but I'm also battling depression.
Because I love my wife and kids so much. So, shoot.
that was really eye-opening, because I think we've made strides as a culture, like immense strides in the area of mental health, and even that conversation surrounding men and mental health. But that was like, oh shoot, we are nowhere close to where we need to be.
This bothers me too, because on one point I agree that there is a shocking realization when you think that we as a society have come farther when it comes to the discussion of mental health. But in my opinion, she's using this again to squeeze into this narrative that everybody was attacking him for being depressed, which is not the case at all. Again, it is what he said. What he said could have been worded better, but it was delivered in a very careless and insulting way, in my opinion at least. And she goes on to explain basically what I said earlier. Depression doesn't care if you're a father or a husband. It doesn't matter if you're very privileged or not. It is something that can happen to anybody, and it is something that requires more than just luxuries to fix.
Depression doesn't care if you're a father or if you're a husband, and it's not personal. That's the whole point. Like, what, I don't, like, it's not personal. I never once took it personally. We are educated nowadays, I would like to believe, on what depression is and what it isn't.
This is not the criticism that people were giving. People were not criticizing him for being depressed. If he made a song about being depressed and still having a family, that would be one thing. He said in the video, it's still not enough. It could have been worded better. This is actually getting on my nerves, so now I'm going to show you the lyrics of the full song so you can make your own decision. This was posted on his Instagram account, so it's coming right from him. I used to dream of growing up, finding hope and finding love, and getting rich so I'd be happy. I could make $1 million, buy a home, and with some luck get the heck out of Missouri. It's funny how you think you know just what you want when you're an 8-year-old dressing up as Spider-Man. It's funny how I haven't really changed that much. I bought the house, but forgot to pay the water bill.
Funny. Yes, but not funny, haha. Funny weird.
I thought by now I'd be happier. I thought by now I'd have it all figured out. You'd think I'd feel a little better about myself because I got everything I wanted, but it's still not enough. I'm wondering if I'm depressed. That can't be right. It don't make sense. I'm no doctor, but that's not like me. Or maybe you should go to therapy. I'll put a smile on my face and play the part to hide the pain because there's a couple kids in the back seat. It's funny how you think you know just what you want when your 8-year-old's dressing up as Spider-Man. It's funny how I haven't really changed that much because I'm still trying the best I can. I thought by now I'd be happier. I thought by now I'd have it all figured out. You'd think I'd feel a little bit better about myself because I got everything I wanted, but it's still not enough. This is a chorus, by the way. I'm trying harder to stay afloat. On paper, it's perfect, but not even close. 1 million friends, but I feel alone for reasons I don't know. I thought by now I'd be happier. I thought by now I'd have it all figured out. You'd think that I'd feel a little better about myself because I got everything I wanted. I thought by now I'd be happier. I thought the high wouldn't fade, but it's letting me down. You'd think I'd feel a little better about myself because I got everything I wanted. Yeah, I got everything I wanted. Yeah, I got everything I wanted, but it's still not enough. I don't want to repeat myself, but I want to say again that you can have all of the luxuries in the world and it will still not help you if you are suffering from something like depression. Sometimes people need to get professional help for it, and that's okay. It's okay to do that, Matt. You probably should if you're feeling this way. Like you said, you have a lot of money, so you could very easily afford a therapist if you already don't have one. I'm operating under the assumption that he didn't seek professional help, at least at the time of recording this video, because he says, I'm no doctor, that's not like me. That is completely speculative though. Maybe he has, but I think if he hasn't, that's an avenue he should look into. Instead of singing about it in the car and putting it on TikTok, making his wife feel bad at the time, ultimately having her defend him after this, and creating a huge scandal, which all could have been avoided if he worded this differently. Also, one last thing, it really aggravates me that Abby went on this rant in this podcast talking about how people weren't understanding of depression when Matt himself posted this clip on Instagram with those lyrics written in the description. He talks about his emotions make him feel feminine, so he bottles them up.
I'm a very happy person, and I did not want to open up about it because it felt uncomfortable and it felt weak. And as a man, I want to be viewed as masculine. I don't want to be viewed as feminine. And for whatever reason, I know it's wrong, but for whatever reason, I view opening up about my emotions as feminine, and I don't want to do that. And so I bottled it up like I usually do, and I've gotten pretty good at that. But on this particular day, I was not doing well at all.
He said that to his audience of millions of people, and then later talks about how it's important to discuss men's mental health and destigmatize it.
Ended up being incredibly therapeutic. Shout out to Jacob, my producer, for essentially being my therapist that day. And I think what I learned from that is I need to be better about opening up to people in my life when I'm struggling, because there's a reason that in America right now, men are 3.9 times more likely to take their life than women. I think it's because of that right there, that we bottle up our emotions and don't share them. I just want to encourage any men out there, like, don't be afraid to open up. Don't be afraid to seek help. Don't be afraid to write a freaking song if you need to write a freaking song.
Maybe start by not calling men's emotions feminine. That pisses me off so bad, because not only does that degrade women, but it also belittles the emotions that men feel. I think that writing a song about it is totally fine. Many people have done that, actually. Very successful musicians who have wives and children and lives to be proud of. The reason they didn't get pushback and you did is because of the way you worded it. I am done with this segment. I'm over it. I'm getting too mad about this. By the way, I have depression, so if anybody out there wants to say you don't know what it's like, I do. There are points when they both are complaining about things in their life, and of course, nobody's life is perfect, but sometimes they complain about things that are completely avoidable, or problems that can have solutions. Which leads me into the biggest issue and scandal that they've had so far, being the cruise situation. So in September of 2024, Matt, Abby, their 2 children, and some other family members went on a cruise. And first of all, for some reason, they felt the need to share what cruise they were going on when they were on it, which is definitely not a safety risk for them or their children, but this cruise ended up not being a great experience.
We are on a cruise with our 2 kids.
So let's do a room tour. Okay.
Check it out, we have life jackets. Hopefully we don't have to use them. Just to give you guys scale, I'm now going to walk from the front door to the bed. Abby is staying in the room next to ours, so I get this whole bed to myself. It's actually just 2 twin beds squished together. Oh.
And we do that so that we can have one kid in one room and the other kid in the other.
Looking through Reddit was the only way I could find the reposts of Abby's stories, which kind of outlines how bad of a time that they seem to have had, and how they decided to get around that. So I'm not sure of the exact order that these stories were posted, because there are multiple posts on Reddit reposting the stories. I'm just going to explain what happened so you understand the context a little bit when we go into this chronologically, or as chronologically as I can. Matt and Abby brought their children on a cruise, and the children were not having a good time. They were crying and screaming a lot. They tried to go out to dinner several times. It wasn't working out, so they allegedly decided to leave their children in 2 separate rooms, by the way, allegedly alone, with FaceTime so they could watch them while they went to dinner on a cruise with hundreds, if not thousands, of people on it. They deny leaving their children alone. We'll get into that in a moment. I just want you to know the basics of this before we read these stories, so you can come to your own conclusions before we continue. Again, I'm going to do my best with the order of which these are posted, but the first one I see is, I am currently in that phase of family vacation where I am extremely overstimulated and questioning why I thought it was a good idea to cram into a tiny cabin on a boat and mess with our little human schedules for 7 days. But I'm thinking that once we get more settled, I'll perk right up. Day 2 update. I feel better, that's for sure. Less fight or flight, but still kind of panicky from time to time. I'll be honest, it's not giving vacation, but hey, my son especially has been laughing a lot and really enjoying himself. And tomorrow they are going to be checked into the kids club for the first time, so I'll let you know how that goes. This didn't last long. 5 minutes after this, we had to leave dinner to go get our 1-year-old from the nursery because he was sad. 15 minutes after we dropped him off to have a kid-free dinner. She then posts, oh, and we made it through the meal. Only a couple breaks and walks. I'll take it. Me walking into the formal dining every night, wondering if we will make it through the meal with the kiddos or be taking it to go. Overall, I think I would say I would choose a different type of vacation until they're just a bit older. But if your extended family is going, as in our case, I would say definitely still go. You can make it work and have a good time. I just think that there are places that are more naturally suited for really little kids, and that makes it easier on the parent and more enjoyable for the kiddos too. Plus, being in the middle of the ocean made me feel nervous with my babies in a way that I have never felt previously on a cruise. Sorry for being so long-winded. Those are my final thoughts on that, in case you are considering cruising with a baby. But also, every baby is different. In other news, I finished my book. Please don't ask why this is a screenshot of my Kindle app and not a picture from my Kindle. Great book, I think a lot of people would like this one. A whodunit that I couldn't get off my mind. Lots of characters, but I didn't think it was hard to follow. Can't wait to watch the show now. 5 5 stars. So she had time to read, but not time to assess the needs of her children, but okay. As for places on board for toddlers, I'd have to say I was disappointed. There wasn't anything for their age except a small section of a splash pad. They weren't allowed in the pool or even the majority of the splash pad. I wish they had a small, soft play area or a playground or even just a safe room for them to run around in, because my boys are active and there wasn't a safe space for them to really move at all. Other ships have this, but ours did not. Tip: the putt-putt course was a good place for them to get their wiggles out, so I do recommend that. Had to leave dinner to bring some things up to the nursery. Room tour: how we're making it work with babies and pack and plays. My grandma's staying in this one and I'm staying in this one. We totally rearranged this room, but this is working well. Our game plan was to play all day with the kids and then let them hang out in the kids club while the adults went to the formal dining, as long nice dinners is not a setting designed for them. Well, you need to book ahead if your child is under 3, and pretty much all of the dinner slots were already booked before I could get into the nursery, and an hour after boarding. So we ended up taking them for 5 nights and it became apparent that they weren't enjoying it and therefore we weren't either. So then we switched our dinner time after their bedtime and FaceTimed the monitors while we ate. Baby monitors don't work on board unless you're like 10 feet away, and that worked out much better for everyone. Naturally, this caused a lot of backlash for Matt and Abby. They didn't say anything for 3 days and then they came back making a response on TikTok.
Hey everybody, we usually would not be making a video like this, but there is information circulating about us that is completely untrue. So we just wanted to set the record straight, clear the air, because we take our role as parents extremely seriously. And we love our children more than anything in the entire world. And we're very protective of our kids. So we just got back from a 7-night cruise with Abby's extended family. And this was everyone from Abby's grandma, our children's great grandma, to our 1 and 2-year-old. And so where this whole controversy started, I guess, is a few days ago, Abby posted on her Instagram story that we were at dinner FaceTiming the baby monitors while our children were asleep in their staterooms. And people started to speculate and believe that we had left our children alone in their staterooms. And that is just completely untrue, because we had someone with our children at all times on this boat, period.
They completely deny leaving their children alone while they went out to eat.
I can see where my story did lead to misunderstanding, which is why I ended up deleting it several hours after posting it, is because I could see that it was causing concern and misunderstanding.
I'm gonna be completely honest, I call bullshit on this, because if that's the truth, why didn't you just make a story right then and there clarifying that somebody was with your kids? That's just my opinion though.
And I do want to say thank you so much to those of you that were concerned about the safety and well-being of our children. As their parents, that is our first and foremost main concern. But to know that other people share those same concerns for our precious boys, it really means a lot. So thank you.
Do you think it's weird that both of them are wearing white in this video? If you don't know, that's kind of like a PR staple.
But I do want to clarify that we have not, would not, will not ever leave our children unattended. We would never ever want to put them in harm's way in any way.
They said that the baby monitors are actually for these little tents that they have to keep the light out so that they can nap, and that they had somebody watching the children.
I do want to clear up the baby monitor situation. Our children sleep in these blackout tents every single night, whether or not we're traveling or if we're just home. And a feature of these tents is they have a spot for a sound machine and a spot for a monitor. And even if we are sleeping in the exact same room as our boys, we always turn their monitor on so we can watch and see what's happening inside the tent, make sure they're okay, see if they've fallen asleep or if they've woken up. We just love to have eyes on them. We're always concerned about them. And so that's why even when we would, tag team and take turns at family dinner, we would turn on FaceTime so we could also have eyes on them as their parents if we weren't the ones, attending them in that moment.
But the children were in 2 separate rooms, so did they have multiple people watching their children, or was it one person going back and forth? This isn't like you're going downstairs after putting your baby down for a nap and you're going downstairs to eat dinner or something in your own personal home. You are on a cruise ship where there are hundreds of other people on the same boat as you. Not only that, but you're publicly disclosing the ship that you are on. They're using like TikTok, so they're uploading it the day that they're there. When you're on a cruise, depending on where your itinerary is, you could be in international territory. Meaning, if God forbid something happened to your children, if somebody came and snatched them up, not only would it be a horrific and devastating situation on its own, but it could potentially get into complicated situations with the law. A lot of crimes can actually take place on cruise ships, and we could see again in this story that Abby posted that she felt very unsettled bringing her babies onto a cruise ship, which tells me that she's probably smart enough to know about that. There are so many risks. Someone could just go right in there and scoop that poor baby up if they are not being watched. They claim that the babies were being watched, but what gets me is, if that were the case, why didn't they clarify it much quicker than they did? It took multiple days for them to sit down and share this.
And we're so thankful to them, you guys, because we spent a lot of our time on this boat in our staterooms manning the baby monitors, and if it wasn't for Abby's extended family, we really would have not gotten a chance to really get out of the room. So thank you to them. Thank you to you guys for listening to what we had to say. It really means a lot to us, and yeah, we appreciate you listening to the very end.
Thank you.
Did they do this knowing that it would piss people off and they wanted to get the attention, or did they actually leave their children alone? Either way, I don't understand how unintelligent you have to be to even post something like this online, let alone do it if you did do it. They claim they didn't, but personally, I find a little bit of trouble believing that given all of the information that we have received online. They either didn't do it, but knew what they were doing when posting those social media posts, knowing that it would upset people, or they did do it and they're trying to cover their tracks. That's my opinion. Another interesting thing is that after this incident took place and it gained mainstream attention, apparently Royal Caribbean actually banned the usage of baby monitors on their cruise because of the situation. So the most recent situation is Matt sleeping in their closet with their guest bed because he's been dealing with some mental health issues, and this turned into him making a personal podcast.
This is super embarrassing, but I've been sleeping in our walk-in closet for the past month now. This is our guest bedroom mattress that I dragged all the way from our guest bedroom.
So to prioritize his mental health, Matt decided to take his guest bed from their guest bedroom and put it in their walk-in closet to sleep in. He talks about how Abby is not a fan of it, obviously. If he's actually doing this, this is probably one of the most inconvenient places to put a bed because unless you have clothes elsewhere in the house, you probably use your closet daily. He has the bed with his wife and a guest bed, which led many to wonder, why didn't he just sleep in the guest bedroom? Like I mentioned, this closet looks very, very clean, and it's because he wants to turn this into a set for a podcast. So what I'm getting at here is I am questioning if he's actually sleeping in this bed every night, or if this is some sort of gimmick to try and get more people to watch his new podcast. I have a hard time trusting what Matt and Abby say at this point. They have a reputation for rage baiting and baiting their audience into believing stories that may or may not be true. Speaking of Abby, Matt talks about how she's not a fan of this, and this is not the first time that they allegedly slept separately.
My husband and I no longer sleep together, which is so odd because I'm a big co-sleeper. I always preferred having roommates. At sleepovers or on trips, I was always the first to volunteer to share a bed. And as a kid, I even forced my little brother to sleep with me because I was scared to be alone. But now I'm in the master bedroom and Matt is in the guest bedroom of his own home.
So it sounds like they first did this as a temporary arrangement for the sake of their children, or in this case at the time, their one child. Also, there's nothing wrong with having a preference of sharing the bed with your husband. Calling yourself a co-sleeper, or in the next clip you'll see she says she's very codependent. It's a very normal thing to want to share your bed with your partner. There could be other reasons why she may feel codependent, but that shouldn't be one of them. There are some couples out there that do prefer to sleep in separate rooms for one reason or another. It's completely a preference. But what I think is important is everybody being on the same page. And it doesn't seem like Matt and Abby are.
Abby and I are sleeping in separate beds.
I don't like it.
You don't like it?
I'm a lonely gal. See, here's the thing. Say what you want. I am codependent. I went from my parents' house to being roommates to sleeping with you. And I shared a room in college. It wasn't like I ever even had my own bedroom.
You and your brother used to share a bed sometimes too.
Yeah.
There was a YouTube video done by a creator known as, I hope I'm saying this name correctly, Danky Jabo or Danky Jabo. I'm sorry. Either way, he pointed out in this video that prior to this entire mattress on the ground scandal, there was actually a more severe situation that took place that not a lot of people have brought up, and there's barely any trace of online. And it's speculated that this entire thing that Matt's doing right now is to try and divert attention away from that situation. So what is that situation, you ask? Well, do you remember 8 Passengers, Ruby Frankie? I'll be talking about them again very soon as a new Hulu documentary came out about them. But Ruby Frankie is the worst family vlogger to date who has gone to prison for what she had done to her children. And Matt and Abby Abby had expressed interest in this entire story previously on their podcast.
Here's the thing,
I'll be honest, I can't believe someone could actually do that to their kid.
My brain could not even go there. Thank goodness I just listened to the Dateline, the audio, and I didn't watch it.
Oh, to see the visuals?
I don't even know if we should even say it, but the things that she did to her children, I don't understand how this happens.
Yeah.
Horrible person.
Gosh.
I'm not even talking about the absolutely horrible thing that happened to that baby. Rot in jail.
That being said, however, this situation was entirely on Matt. One of Ruby's older daughters, named Sherry, has been very public about the mistreatment she had dealt with by Ruby and has documented how she had tried to help her younger siblings. She had recently written a book about her experiences, and Matt wasted zero time publicly pressuring her to try and go onto their podcast to discuss this. Remember, she is a victim of a extremely corrupt, unhinged family vlogger, the worst family vlogger ever known to date. And another family vlogger is asking her to join their podcast to talk about her experiences. Matt posted a reel which is extremely hard to find. He had deleted it and there seems to be no re-uploads of it, but you can see in this screenshot that it states a message to Sherry Frankie, and then the description says, "We could even just talk about your advocacy work for children for an hour at Sherry Frankie." And then underneath that, the Unplanned Podcast, who is also run by Matt, stated, "If she doesn't love the interview, it doesn't get posted." Matt replied to himself stating, "Exactly. She has to 110% love it. We don't have to talk about the book." Followed by another comment by himself stating, "Not me replying to myself, but the interview could literally be just about the advocacy for children online at Sherry Frankie." Someone commented underneath this stating, "You literally said in this video that you feel like there's more details she left out that you want to ask her about. You didn't say you wanted to partner about advocating for children, and I doubt you would want to be interviewed by someone who makes money off of their children on the internet." It seems that Matt was claiming that there was some information left out of Sherry's book and he wanted more of that information as if he's entitled to that. And also at some point he tried to claim that Sherry or somebody in her management had sent him the book, to which somebody on behalf of Sherry stated, "Sherry, nor did her management send her book. Please stop misrepresenting this. You are causing unwanted DMs, asking her to be tagged, causing unwanted stress, exploiting a situation for your own gain, and you need to respect her privacy. If you received the book, it was sent out of respect by the publisher who denied your interview request. Sherry did not send you a book." Another comment left sums things up perfectly. It says, "Why would she go on a podcast with a couple who exploits their children? Leave her alone and stop bugging her. Do you have no awareness at all?" Another comment says, "Please just leave her alone. There's nothing she hasn't said in the book that she would talk to you of all people about, and she has explicitly stated she won't be sharing information about her personal life going forward." Matt responded with, "How does bringing awareness to her advocacy work for children hurt anyone?" Someone else said, "Yes, only if she's comfortable though." He says, "If she doesn't love the interview, then it doesn't get posted." Another person said, "Why would your podcast be the best platform for that? You're incredibly uneducated on this subject." And in this thread are a ton of screenshots of Matt's fans tagging Sherry over and over and over again, which in my opinion could be seen as harassment. And this was documented on a Reddit thread titled, "Love to see so many comments calling Matt and Abby out for being opportunistic assholes." I will say this seems like mainly Matt's doing. Abby did talk about the Ruby Frankie situation a while back, but all of this, unless she did appear in the video and I missed it because I unfortunately did not catch the reel when it was uploaded, it doesn't seem like she was participating in this. Is it possible that Matt is doing this new podcast and rebranding and doing all of this because of this scandal here, because he doesn't want to be seen as a piece of crap and he's trying to create a distraction? My answer, possibly. To be completely honest, there's so much more I can go into regarding Matt and Abby, but I think I'm going to end this here as we've reached over an hour at this point. So yeah, I know I've been talking a lot about family vlogging content on this channel recently. There's been so many stories of so many creators being criticized for very good reason, and it's not only something that just bothers me on a level of seeing this go online. I'm somebody who grew up without having people advocate for me at times where I really feel like I should have been advocated for. These are situations that I really feel passionate about because their children cannot defend themselves at 1 and 2 years old. I gotta be honest, I'm just really tired of seeing these family channels treating their kids like little money sacks, like they're nothing more than a thing to get them attention online. Thank you so much if you've made it all the way to the end of this video. Thank you so much to everybody supporting me over on Patreon and through YouTube memberships. And with that being said, I will see you in the next video.